Prince, stop deceiving yourself. You have been fed a diet of hollow sermons and told that your kindness, your loyalty, and your unimpeachable virtue would serve as an impenetrable shield against the world. This is a lethal delusion. In the harsh architecture of the real world, what you call virtue is often nothing more than a neon sign signaling your vulnerability to those who have already discarded their conscience. He who neglects what is actually done for what ought to be done pursues his own inevitable destruction rather than his preservation. Your goodness is not a fortress, it is a target. While you were sleeping, lulled by the lullabies of ethics and fair play, your rivals were awake. They were not studying how to be loved, they were studying the topography of your weaknesses. These are the true wolves of our age, men who understand that power does not care how good you are, only how useful or fragile you have become. They do not seek your approval, they seek your submission. They know that in the arena of high stakes, there is nothing proportionate between the armed and the unarmed. Your innocence is not a merit, it is a permission for them to strike. Hear the prophecy that has outlived empires. He who seeks equity in a world of wolves will soon find himself in their bellies. Power has no seat for the naive. It demands the cunning of the fox to recognize the snares, and the strength of the lion to terrify the predators. This video is not a comfort. It is a cold blade designed to cut away the velvet veil that has blinded you. I will force you to look at the effectual truth of power that I warned the world about 5 centuries ago. A truth that remains as sharp and as blood-stained today as it was in the courts of the Medici. Prepare yourself, Prince, for the world as it is, not as you wish it to be.
Prince, look closely at the ruins of those who dared to dream. Many have pictured republics and principalities that have never been seen or known to exist in truth. They spent their lives chasing a horizon that does not exist, building castles on the shifting sands of how things ought to be. But hear me, the distance between how one lives and how one ought to live is so vast that to close your eyes to reality is to invite your own execution. I do not teach you the path to heaven, I teach you the geography of the world as it is, a world where the ought is a ghost, and the is a blade at your throat. Understand this. I am not the architect of evil. I am the honest teacher of a dishonest game. I do not teach you how to be wicked for the sake of wickedness, but I teach you how to stay alive among those who are. A man who wishes to act entirely up to his professions of virtue in every circumstance will inevitably be destroyed by the many who are not good. To believe otherwise is not faith, it is suicide. In the arena of power, necessity is the only God that matters. You must learn how to be not good and know when to use that knowledge and when to set it aside according to the cold demands of the moment. In the ledger of power, unconditional kindness is recorded as a liability, a slow-acting poison that paralyzes your hand when you should be striking. If you do not know how to be dishonest when the state or your survival requires it, you are merely digging your own grave with a golden shovel. Everything else is secondary. Honor, reputation, and la faille, the right way, are empty vessels if you have no power to protect them. I told my friend once that I would teach men the way to hell, not so they may dwell there, but so they may steer clear of its fires. Preservation is your supreme duty. All other virtues are luxuries that only the victors can afford to discuss.
You must understand, Prince, that there are two ways of contending, one by the law, which is proper to men, and the other by force, which is proper to beasts. But because the first is frequently insufficient, you must have recourse to the second. Ancient writers taught this in secret when they wrote of Achilles being raised by the centaur, half man, half beast, meaning a ruler must master both natures, for one without the other is not durable. You must be a fox to recognize the snares that would entangle you, and a lion to terrify the wolves that would devour you. Those who rely solely on the lion's strength are crude. They fall into traps they never saw coming. Power is not just muscle, it is the cunning to see the net before it tightens. It is not necessary for you to actually possess every virtue, mercy, faith, humanity, or religion, but it is absolutely indispensable to appear to have them. In fact, I dare say that having them and always observing them is injurious, while appearing to have them is useful. You must have a mind ready to turn itself accordingly as the winds and variations of fortune force it. Understand that the vulgar are always taken by what a thing seems to be and by the final result. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see you, but very few come close enough to touch the reality of who you are. They see the mask of the saint, only the few know the beast within, and those few dare not oppose the opinion of the many, who have the majesty of the state to defend them. Do not shrink from the reputation of cruelty if it keeps your subjects united and loyal. There is a profound difference between cruelty used well and cruelty used badly. Cruelties are properly used if they are applied at a single stroke, out of the necessity for security, and are not persisted in. They must be turned as quickly as possible to the advantage of the subjects. He who hesitates, who strikes with a trembling hand, is forced to keep the knife in his hand forever. He can never rely on his subjects, for they are perpetually unsettled by fresh injuries.
Prince, do not be deceived by the temporary comfort of borrowed strength. He who founds his state upon the goodwill of others or the fickle grace of fortune builds upon a foundation that will vanish at the first storm. True authority is not a gift to be received. It is a fortress to be constructed from your own resources, your own laws, and your own arms. Look to Hero of Syracuse or Caesar Borgia, who realized that mercenaries and auxiliaries are but useless and dangerous tools that leave you either undone by defeat or captive to their victory. You must establish yourself upon that which is in your own control, for a principality not founded on its own strength is merely a shadow waiting for the sun to move. We now approach the most vital question. Is it better to be loved than feared, or feared than loved? The ideal is to be both, but since they rarely coexist, I tell you it is far safer to be feared. Understand the nature of men. They are ungrateful, fickle, and covetous. They will offer you their blood when the danger is far off, but they will turn against you the moment necessity strikes. Love is a fragile link of obligation, which men, being wretched, break for their own advantage at every opportunity. But fear is held by a dread of punishment that never fails you. Let them love you at their own whim, but let them fear you at yours. A wise prince always establishes himself on his own ground, not the ground of others. Precision in execution requires the cloak of silence. You must become a great pretender and dissembler, hiding your true intent until the moment of the strike. Darkness is not the enemy of power. It is the protective cloak for the greatest of plans. Like the fox, you must move unseen through the snares of your enemies. If you allow the world to see the gears of your ambition, you give them the tools to jam them. A prince who is secretive in his designs, like Ferdinand of Aragon, keeps the minds of his subjects in a state of suspense and admiration, leaving them no time to work against him. While you seek to be feared, you must avoid being hated at all costs, for hatred is the fire that consumes even the strongest fortresses. To avoid this abyss, you must follow one golden rule: keep your hands off the property of your subjects and their women. Men will forget the execution of their father sooner than the loss of their inheritance. Finally, banish all irresolution from your heart. The neutral path and the middle ground are the graveyards of the weak. When two powers clash, declare yourself boldly, for if you stand aside, you will invariably become the prey of the victor to the satisfaction of the loser. In power, there are no safe courses, only the choice of the lesser evil.
Look into the glass, Prince, and tell me what you see. Do you see a victim of circumstance, or the architect of a new order? Understand this. The world has no ears for your remorse, and no eyes for your tears. It does not care how right you were, or how pure your intentions remained while your enemies dismantled your life. The world is interested only in your existence, your preservation, and the results you command. He who neglects what is actually done for what ought to be done pursues his own ruin rather than his survival. In the final tally of history, the only sin is to be defeated. When failure arrives, and it will if you remain idle, do not waste your breath cursing the cruelty of others or the malignity of fortune. Blame only your own sloth and your refusal to prepare in the calm for the coming tempest. Fortune is like a torrential river. She displays her power only where no barriers or dams have been raised to constrain her. If you are swept away, it is because you chose the strength to suffer over the strength to act. It is a double disgrace to be born to power and lose it through a want of wisdom. The light licks out completely. Only the host's eyes remain visible, glowing with a cold, predatory light in the center of the dark frame. A single heavy bell tolls once, echoing into the silence. Narrative. Remember the darkest truth of the human heart as you walk back into the light. Men more quickly forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. Do not build your house on the shifting sands of human gratitude, for men are fickle and will turn against you the moment their interest dictates it. Build it on the iron foundations of necessity and your own virtue. Take up the sword of reality today, for if you do not, you will remain a mere pawn in the hands of those who have mastered these rules better than you. The epiphany is complete. The veil is gone. Now, Prince, go and rule.